Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I accept things the way they are. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I love wasting. I love wasting. I get free. I reap abundantly. I already have everything I need. Wonderful is happening to me right now. Don't you feel it? Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Oh yeah, I accept things the way they are. I will. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
That's a onesie, little spoons in this, and then the hairbrush when they start getting hair. I have a boy, he's a little boy, so I've got a little cousin. They probably don't even know, but they
We have some coffee and bagels and some cream cheese because it's fabulous, and so are we. Come to church.
As we begin the service this morning, let's take this time to center ourselves so we will totally enjoy this entire service. So if you're comfortable, just gently close your eyes or lower them as we center ourselves. I am a child of God, free to express my true self. Every day I am called to new experiences of freedom. This moment is a brand new moment in my life. I can choose to be more relaxed, more trusting, more forgiving, more loving. I can choose to be whatever I want. The question is, am I treating this moment in a new way? Life is full of ups and downs, joys and challenges. While I may feel overwhelmed by them at times, one thing I can be sure of is that God and I are one. Divine life within me assures me that I am abundantly provided for and that I can face any situation, great or small, that comes my way. I believe that the presence of God is with me and within me, leading me in right ways and strengthening me. So let us contemplate this thought as we go into the silence. As we gently return back to this space and time, we remember, I am a child of God, capable, strong, loved, and free to express my true self. I am not bound by outgrown beliefs. I observe my thoughts, words, and actions, and focus on that which is positive, supportive, and constructive. I embrace this moment as an opportunity to make new choices. I am free now to choose and experience my good. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
If you will, allow me to speak in the first person, and as we're all one, to include all of you in the same power and expressing the same God, one God. God's wisdom has put itself into all of its creation, especially you and me. with all the power, all the love, all the harmony. It's the power to manifest what we want. How beautiful that is. I realize because of this creation, this knowing the truth of who and what I am, a manifestation of God individually, as each one of us is, that I have all the love, the harmony, the peace, and the wisdom to do God's work. And I am so grateful for this knowing and this teaching and this center. I know it works. I had manifested what I wanted when I was very young without being in this teaching, and that's so I know it works. I went into the Air Force as a high school graduate because somebody in my high school had done it before, and I said, well, if he did it, I could do it. So I became an officer and a pilot out of high school. So I know that what you think you can do, you can do. Just be specific. Know that it's what you want for sure. We can modify it as we go along. But the point is to know it and to release it to God, knowing that it is done. And as we all say, and so it is.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Stacy Hilton. I am one of your senior ministers along with Reverend Cheryl and Reverend Dan, and I'm pleased to be here. And again, last week, for those of you that were here, we started off my talk of wandering off the path. And we had a wonderful power talk that lasted a little longer than anticipated. And so we did something a little different. And I read you a little story from Dr. Seuss, and I hope you all enjoyed that. And so Reverend Cheryl and I thought that we'd split up the talk today, and I'd continue with wandering off the path. And really, the theme this month is integrity, which is probably one of the most important things, I think, most important topics that we could really talk about. And you start off with integrity. What is integrity? It's walking your talk, right? Walking your talk. It's being who you are. Now for those of you, most of you are family. Well, you're all family now, so you're here now. But most of you come here pretty often, and so you're reminded on a weekly basis of who you are. And so who are you? Anybody? God in expression. Thank you, Jim. Right off the bat. God in expression. And beyond that, you are here to be God in expression, and be love, and be light, and be joy, and to pursue that which makes you happy, and that which makes you joyful, and that which brings you abundance, and that which brings you health and wealth. That's who you are. And so therefore, integrity is kind of personal. There's such thing as personal integrity, and then there's moral integrity. There's doing the right thing for the right reason. Okay, we're not necessarily talking about, we're not talking about it, but we're really talking about your personal integrity. What is it for you to be happy, to be healthy, to be wealthy? Because if you do that for you, you're creating a world that works for everyone. You're truly creating a world that works for everyone. So once you know that about yourself, you all know that, right? So you can't walk out of here today and say, I don't know who I am. Agreed? Agreed. Okay. So then you got to claim it. So turn to your neighbor, if you would. I know that I am God in expression. I am love. I am light. I am joy. And I am perfect. I love this. Give your neighbor a hug, if you will. Okay? So you've claimed it. You You can't take it back now, folks. You can't take it back. You can't leave out of here when somebody cuts you off on the freeway and be something other than that. Karen, you too. I'm teasing Karen. She had a class with me, so that's an inside joke. But I think Bob probably knows, and I know her mom knows. And her granddaughter too. So you can't do that. And what a great time of year to start that practice, if you haven't started it already. And many of us have started it, but sometimes we forget who we are, don't we? Right?
Yes.
Stop it. So then you have to live it. Living it is easy in this space and this place where we're all like that. And sometimes it gets a little bit harder when we're outside, when we have friends that are not like-minded, when we see things that are, people are not being very kind to one another. And so that's when it's really time to really step up and show who you are. Well, Reverend Cheryl told me not to mention this book, but that's okay. I'll have to pay the price for that a little bit later. Because we don't have it in the bookstore, that's why she said. That's why she told me. But the book, the title is called If You Know Who You Are, You Will Know What to Do. It's a great book, and it showed up this week. And I know you think I make up these stories. You can ask Abby. But as I was trying to think of, okay, so now what is a part two? Because I really did my whole talk, I just condensed it last week. And so as I'm thinking about that, in comes a box of books. Thank you, Reverend Cheryl, UPS. And honest to God, if you know who you are, you'll know what to do, with a chapter entitled Wandering Off the Path. Did I make it up? I did not make it up. And the first part of the book really talks more about what integrity is. And it's a lovely book. I haven't finished the whole thing. I had time yesterday, but we'll go back to that in a bit. But really, what I wanted to talk about was a chapter in which the author, Ronald Greer, talks about sitting at an airport and when you get on the plane. Anybody like to people watch? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And he noticed I guess they were boarding the plane, noticed a young lady with some difficulties, I guess some developmental challenges, and wondering, because she was by herself and was a little anxious for her. And then watched a group of young men, college students, frat boys, having a good time and kind of partying and drinking, and very cool, the cool guys, right? The beautiful guys. And so he was just observing all of this, and they were sitting, the young lady was sitting next to one of the guys. And as they took off, I guess the young lady got nervous, and she was by herself. And so she reached out for one of the guy's hands. And so he kind of held his breath, like, I hope he does the right thing. And the young lady said, I get really nervous when I take off. And the author said, this is a time to prove who you are and your character. So he watched and held his breath. And the young man held her hand and said, you'll be okay. That's really the time when you know who you are, and when you show it and when you live it. When you've claimed it and you live it. That's when it's time to really step up and be that person. And we're living in a time like that right now. Would you agree? Yes. Yeah. And so there are two paths. The Bhagavad Gita, which I had been studying for a little while. Not necessarily studying, but I've been going through it and have taken a class on it. And I've just found that I absolutely love it. It's one of the sacred texts of Hinduism, so it's one of the oldest texts around. And I'm not going to read this entire thing, but chapter 16 is about the two paths. And so let me just read the one path. Be fearless and pure. Never waver in your determination of your dedication to the spiritual life. Give freely. Be self-controlled, sincere, truthful, loving, and full of the desire to serve. Realize the truth of the scriptures. Learn to be detached and to take joy in renunciation. Do not get angry or harm any living creature, but be compassionate and gentle. Show goodwill to all. Cultivate vigor, patience, will, purity. Avoid malice and pride. then you will achieve your divine destiny. Then they go on to talk about the other path, which none of us ever take, I'm sure. But just so you might recognize it in case you ever see it. Other qualities make a person more and more inhuman. Hypocrisy, arrogance, conceit, anger, cruelty, and ignorance. The demonic do things they should avoid and avoid things they should do. They have no sense of uprightness, purity, or truth. Now that is not to say that we are all born with both that God-like side, the light, I'll call it, and then the other side, which I'll call the dark, or our shadow self. We all have it. We all have it. But I think life is about showing the light more than it is the dark. And once we've mastered that, then we're really on our path. Yes? So, great text. Friday night was a wonderful night. I had a lot of fun. I really did. And yes, I love to dance. And woke up Saturday morning, and I wasn't sore or anything, but I woke up with this horrendous headache, and I was not drunk. Or if I was drunk, I had sweat it all out. So it wasn't a question of that. It was purely a question of me coming down with some appearance of some sort of head cold, I would imagine. So I woke up, and I had 2 wine demos to do. And I thought I would just ignore this fact that I had this thing going on. So I ignored it for half the day, and I missed meditation. I was upset that I missed meditation, so I was kind of beating myself up. And then going through all the reasons why perhaps my subconscious had decided that I would be sick, which is really pointless. And did that, and then got up and got ready for work. And I said, oh, I'll just go get some Dayquil, I'll be fine. So I took 4 Dayquil. Well, first tasting, I went through pretty quickly. Took 4 Dayquil, went to the second day tasting. I'm tasting tequila. And I'm supposed to be describing the tequila and blah, blah, blah. And I'm really, at this point, I am crashing. And I'm crashing quickly. And I have no more Dayquil and still have another hour and a half to go. And finally they looked at me, the 2 guys that I was working in the store for, and they said, and I had sold 2 bottles of $150 tequila. They said, you need to go home. So you know I had to be sick if they're sending me home at a free tasting, and I've already sold $150 worth of tequila. And I get home and I see Cheryl. Cheryl looks at me and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, It's 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm asleep by 6:10. Before I went to sleep, I texted Reverend Dan and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but just be prepared, because that's a responsible thing to do. We're a team, right? And I do that, say my prayer. I had Aldo pray for me after I apologized for not being here for meditation. Cheryl was praying, I'm sure without ceasing, because then her 10-minute talk has to be 20 minutes. I don't think I saw her again. I got up, got some Theraflu, said another prayer, went back to bed, and that was that. And in my mind, I thought, I'm not going to be at church tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to finish my talk. I wonder what that's going to look like. And then I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And I woke up 6 o'clock this morning, no symptoms of a cold, nothing. A little bit of a fever, so if you have that in your subconscious that you don't want to get sick, don't come hug me. I don't have that, so. But if you have that belief, don't come hug me. But woke up and everything was fine. Except I had no talk, right? And then, Cheryl, I hear her dog scratching on my door like he does every Sunday morning at 7:30 in the morning. And I open the door. I'm a little grouchy in the morning, just in case a little grouchy. And Cheryl comes out like a big old puppy dog. Hi. I'm like, And I smell bacon or ham or something and cakes, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on this early in the morning? And so, of course, she baked a ham, and she baked a cake, and whatever else she was doing, she was finishing up her talk. And I thought, walk my talk. Am I wandering off the path if I don't show up? Am I in integrity? Then I rationalized, right? well, I don't want anybody to get sick, so perhaps I should stay home. Don't we do that? This is all in my mind. I'm not saying this out loud. And then I said, as Mae McCarthy says in her book, give me a lead. Give me another lead. So Cheryl comes down the stairs for the 25th time as I'm watching from my room to do something. And she says, well, I can do the rest of the talk. It's okay. And I thought, well, now that's being in principle and in character and being the integrity, an integral woman that she is. That's what you do, right? And not saying that if I were not sick, it would not be okay. But I wasn't that sick at that moment. At that point, it was really about me not having my top down and not knowing what I was going to wear. If I really looked at it from the egoic state, that's what that was about. So I showered, got myself together, and put on the sparkliest thing I could find. And pulled it together. So live your life in integrity. Be that what you say you're going to be. And when you get off your path, simply jump up, take a shower, and put on something sparkly. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I love how and then I said to her this morning, I said, you do the headphone mic because, you know, you're not very good with the handheld. You do this. I won't tell you what she said to me when I said that, but she did really good, huh? I guess that was and we always, in ministerial with our sister, it was 7 women and Dr. Mora. And we would always say, God is crack up. So that was the God is crack up moment when she had to use the handheld mic. That's funny. God is crack up. Thank you, Reverend Stacy, for part 2 of Wandering Off Your Path. You were dancing on Friday. And I always tell her she's 22. And obviously she believes me. Because she was dancing. She was back in her college days, boy. She was. It was fun to watch too. If all of those that were there. I'm telling you, if you weren't there, next dance, and Reverend Stacy's going to be there, I suggest you come. Because it's quite a show. It is. Thank you again, Reverend Stacy. And if you don't know already, I'm Reverend Cheryl Bell, and the title of my talk today is The Life of Character, followed by Wandering Off Your Path. Last week was awesome, listening to Barbara Howlett talk. I remember when Reverend Cynthia, who is our founding minister here at Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living, retired. Barbara came to me and said, you know, things are going to be a little different, but I promise you everything's going to be okay. And I believed her. Thank goodness, right? That's why we're here today. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Anyway, have you all noticed that it takes more and more for us to be appalled about something? Have you noticed that, you know, what used to be appalling has become common? Yes. Our senses have been dulled. You know, we've become callous and even a little cynical, I'm sorry to say. And I'm not immune. The Revs aren't immune. You know, we could blame it on technology, communication, technology that is, for our senses being dulled over time. But then that would be unconscious, right? That's without conscious awareness. It seems to me that we may have lowered the bar of what we expect, not only of each other, but of our leaders, the politicians, athletes, and it's more than anything of ourselves, right? The proverbial moral compass doesn't seem to exist any longer, does it? You know, if we expect less, what happens? We become less, we get less. You know, working on my talk this week, as Reverend Stacy says, that, you know, I know I did order the book, but it was not supposed to come because it was back ordered. So when it came, we were all kind of surprised. It was the perfect book. If you know who you are, you will know what to do. Living with integrity. Ronald J. Greer. Well, in reading, it's an easy read, it's a fun read actually. A lot of statistics too though. You know, I seem to always pick books with statistics in them. But his wife, Ronald's wife, was a school teacher, and he was talking about how she has kind of become weary of everyone's obsession with self-esteem. And let me read you a little bit of what she says, what he says of her actually. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Okay. She says, when we focus on actually, she was reading a study by Mary Piper. Yeah, that's how you. When we focus on self-esteem instead of character and good works, we feed into narcissism. Self-esteem is, if real, is self-regard and comes from ethical behavior. She adds, self-esteem is probably the result, not the cause of good work. The conclusion of the study actually is that the conclusion is that teaching students that I am special promotes narcissism rather than self-esteem. Because doing something in integrity and building character automatically promotes self-esteem, is what the study says. And I kind of, you know, when you look around and unfortunately talk to some teens, that I find that might be true. I find that might be true. There's a Bible quote, of course, which I hardly ever do a Bible quote, that everyone probably knows. Proverbs 22:6. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Right? So let's have a little story time for illustration. Say I have a friend. I'll call her Teresa, after Mother Teresa. She has 2 children. One I will call baby girl, who's preschool age, and a little boy I'll call big brother, who's in the 4th grade. So she running errands, drop the kids off at school, running errands. She smells orangey, something orange smelling in the back of the car. And she asks baby girl, "What are you chewing?" This is during running errands, going to the store, doing all the things she does between the time she dropped baby brother off to the time she has to pick him up again. She said, "This is gum that I took from the store." And she said it proudly as she held up the gum wrapper. It had been a long morning for Mama Teresa. And of course she was in a rush because they had to get back home, get groceries, and go back and pick brother from school. So it would have been so much easier for her to simply lecture baby girl, right? And then go on about her day. But no, Mother Teresa, She turned the car around and she explained to baby girl that what she had done was wrong. She had taken something without paying for it, and by definition that was stealing. Teresa told her that she was going to have to bring the gum back to the shop and explain to the store manager what she had done. And that as her mother, she would loan her the money to pay for the gum, but she would have to give it back to her out of her piggy bank when they got home. So even though baby girl was very upset and scared, actually, her mother reminded her that she had to make it right. But she also told her that she loved her and that she'd be with her the whole time. That is just, it's never too early, right? She's in preschool. It's never too early to begin to teach a life of character. Now, fast forward. I'm not baby girl, but I'm Cheryl, and I'm 16, and I'm working at my first job, and I'm in Wichita, Kansas, and I love WSU basketball. I had a friend's father would take us to every game that was at home in Wichita, WSU. Woohoo, go Shockers. And so I was scheduled to work one of those Fridays, but of course I didn't know I was going until that he had tickets until later, either that morning or that day. And so I called in sick because I went to a basketball game. Yeah, Stacy's heard this story a couple times. And my mother, you all know my mother Gladys. Well, she made her transition almost 2 years ago now. Can't believe it's been 2 years, almost. She said, as I'm getting ready to go to the basketball game, where are you going? I'm getting ready for the game, Mom. You know, I always go to the game. But weren't you scheduled to work today? I'm like, yeah. Did you call in sick? Yeah. Well, you're too sick to go to work, you're too sick to go to the I was 16. I am 50 something now. I think about it all the time. All the time. It is so, I believe, yes, I know that I am, as Reverend Stacy had us say, a perfect child of the one power of God. But how did I know that? Because all along the way, even though I wasn't being necessarily told that every day, in my own anyway, I was asked to constantly exemplify that in other ways that I will call character building. You know, my little sister, you know, she stole something once from, she was like 8. And you know, it's like normal. It's like she comes out of the store like, well, I can have whatever I want, right? No. So we have to walk all the way back to the store. My mom did not drive so that she could take it back and pay for it. Because she did have the money to pay for it. But it was almost like she was, I got away with this, you know. I promise you, she's 50 something also, that she remembers that. I promise you she remembers that. She was scared. I remember that because I was scared for her. First of all, you had my mother walk all the way back to the store with you. Oh yeah, you're in trouble. Anyway. But you know, it's not too late. It's never too late. It really isn't. I know we talked about children and instilling in your children and raise them in the way you would have them go. Ernest Holmes, founder of our teaching in A New Design for Living, which we do not have, okay? Strike 2. But it's an old book, well, so is the Science of Mind textbook, so don't listen to me. If we have done many things wrong up to this time, If perhaps we have not been all things we could have been, well, this is the way things are. But the larger possibility is always ahead of us. We can start becoming more of it right now. Start moving out of what we are into what we can be. The moment we start to get on good terms with ourselves, all else will fall into place. For then we will be in harmony with God. And God includes us and everything and everyone else. In reading for this talk, I ran across another TED Talk, a book by David Brooks, The Road to Character. It's not only, in his book he says, but on the TED Talk too, he says, character is not only doing good, but being good. How to live a life of depth and meaning over success and achievement. He says that one way to begin the journey is by asking yourself one simple question, yet difficult question. Am I living for my resume or my eulogy? To be continued. Namaste. All right. If you could all stand and connect. You know, I'm so grateful for this day. I'm so grateful for each and every person that has a connection to me in the center and to this world. I know that a life of character is a choice that we all make every single day. And the goodness that is each one of us is available to every single person on this plane, on this earth, and beyond. And for that, I am so grateful. I know that today we enjoy each other's company, we share in some good food and laughter, and just as families always do. And for that, I'm just so grateful. And together we say, and so it is. All right, let's sing. Woo!
So repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
I know this in my powerful mind.
I know this in my powerful mind.
I feel it in my sparkly body.
I feel it